Greetings, everyone. Peace and blessings be unto you all. I am Minister Jamie Eatman, and I am indeed on the rise. I'd like to thank you all for joining me. Okay. I'd like to thank you all for joining me. All right. I'd like to thank you all for joining me and welcome. Welcome to be a moment. A moment. Give me a minute. That's all I need. Give me a minute. That's all I need. I just need a minute of my time, and I will join you. And everything's gonna go, it's gonna go just fine. I just need a minute of your time, and I will surely join you, and everything's gonna go just fine. Actually, what I'm trying to do is make sure that we get some tapping done here, or should I say some clapping? If tapping was clapping, the code word would be clapping, and that we can say. We can get away with that on TikTok. So let us be clapping. Let us be clapping. Yep, let us be clapping. There we go. We're about to get started. We are about to get started. Everything is fine. We're about to get started. Everything is fine. Greeting everyone. Peace and blessings be unto you. I am Minister Jamie Eatman, and I am indeed on the rise. You all might wonder, why does he put that indeed in there? Because when it comes down to life, there's some things that you say and there's some things that you do. And there's a difference between the two. So when I say I am indeed, that's exactly what I mean. I am indeed on the rise. We're going to begin the program now. What we're going to do is this. We're going to start you off with a little intro. Lady Antoinette normally does the start of the program. But as I always say to her, we need to be trained and ready to fight, regardless of where we find ourselves. So,
Greetings, peace and blessings. You're invited to Rise to Prosperity, Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. I, Lady Antoinette, and my co-host, Minister Jamie Eatman, would love for you to join us, our panelists, and our conversation room guests Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. as we rise to prosperity.
the song says, as we rise to prosperity. Some might wonder, what is he talking about? Rise to Prosperity. Rise to Prosperity is a show we do on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. It's a show of education, motivation, and inspiration. Yes, that's right. That's our whole objective throughout the show, to educate, motivate, and inspire. Motivate, educate, and inspire who? Well, better question would be, who better than you? All right. So we're going to be talking about something today that I think is really significant. It is for me. I ran into this topic a while back, and it was something that really made a difference for me. I'm one of those individuals that the things that are thought-provoking, they stay with me more so than anything else. So what I want to talk about right now is actually just something that I found to be very thought-provoking. And that something is the topic of, what is it? My definite chief aim. I left out the word definite. You see that? You may not be able to see it all too well, but it says my definite chief aim. And some of you all, it may be turned around backwards. But in any case, this document here is a very important one. So as I get into this document, I want you all to work with me here. This document is one that dates back to 2/21/12. That's right, 2012. This document dates back to 2012. It's a very important document to me. So as I get deeper into the program, I'm going to tell you all a little bit more about it. Let me see how my numbers are looking here. We're right at 9,000. And I have two people in the room at this time. I'm going to give you all this song. This is a theme song, more or less.
There I was, sinking to rise no more, far too far from that peaceful shore. Half in my grave, I could see my tombstone in place. When I heard my master's voice, I could hear him say, "You gotta rise, you gotta rise, you gotta rise, arise my child. You gotta rise, arise my child. Oh, you gotta rise, you gotta rise." Driven by the storms of life, enduring so much strife, I had lost my way, even found it hard to pray. As I began to fall, I heard my Savior call. He said, "Arise, arise, my child." He took my despair and gave me light. Now His grace and love shines ever so bright. He said, "Arise, my child, there is work to do." He told me to share my light with you. How precious is that flow that will make you pure as snow. No other help I know. You gotta rise. Oh, you gotta rise. You gotta rise. You gotta rise. Arise, my child. You gotta rise. Arise, my child. Oh, you gotta rise. 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 Arise, my child. Yeah. You gotta rise. Arise, my child. Oh, you gotta rise. 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 Gotta rise. Rise above hate. Gotta rise. Rise in love. Gotta rise. Rise from despair. Gotta rise. Rise in hope. Gotta rise. Rise above war. Gotta rise. Rise in peace. Gotta rise. You've gotta rise. Gotta rise. You've gotta rise. Gotta rise. Jesus is the way. Gotta rise. The truth and the light. Gotta rise. Just trust in Him. You'll be alright. Gotta rise. Arise in love. Oh, rise. You gotta rise. You gotta rise. Arise.
Right, welcome back, welcome back. That's the theme song, You Gotta Rise. We're talking about a very significant topic today, and it allows me to dwell or dwindle or dig. You know how you go digging around and stuff and you discover some stuff. Well, I'm gonna get a chance to dig into my past. You will as well if you hang around. You know, where did a person come from? Where are they going? Diana Ross did a song, Do You Know Where You're Going To? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know? It was a beautiful song. She has a beautiful voice, beautiful songstress, and that song was a great song. And today, I'm going to share some information with you all. You know, my world is kind of small, and those things that are significant to me, I keep them in a small space. I was earlier on TikTok, and I was going over something, and I touched on a topic, and lo and behold, I mentioned my past, and there was a newspaper I used to do. So I needed a copy of that newspaper to really show but you know, it was right there at my right. And the reason it was there is because of the fact that um, most things like that are right there. Sometimes I grab them as references. I don't have a lot of accomplishments or a lot of things in life, but the things that are near and dear are the things that are dear are usually things I keep near. You know, those things that matter the most, you keep them in close proximity. So we're going to talk about chief aim, my chief aim. So you're going to learn a little bit today about my chief aim. I'm gonna put some stuff together for you all because we got 2 hours that we're gonna do here. And as I pull this stuff together, hopefully it'll make some sense to you all. But I'm gonna start out with this story. I was in the city of Augusta, Georgia. And I remember I was coming from San Antonio, Texas. I was in the military. And when I got there, I met this young lady, and she said to me, she said, what can we do to make a difference in the lives of youth? You know, there's so much negativity that they're exposed to. What can we do to make a difference in their lives? And let me tell you what I did. This is what I did. I thought to myself, how can we make a difference? And I reflected upon my skill set. And one of the greatest and skill set I had, and the newest one was that of a publisher, that of a typesetter, that, you know, just doing a newspaper, literally everything that went along with it. So my suggestion was, why don't we do a publication, and why don't we call it The Rise? Because the rise naturally reflects something positive. So as we had this conversation and we kind of went through it, we went with that. We went with The Rise. And that's how all of this got started. So as we got started with The Rise and we went on, we did a little planning and we came up with this plan to go ahead and we were going to do The Rise. I want to take this time to welcome those of you who have joined me and those of you who shall watch this later. So regardless of whether it be now or later, I hope it's going to be something that's going to be said. It's going to be a blessing to you. But I always try to begin the program with prayer. Let us pray. Most Holy Father, Lord, I thank you. Father, I just thank you for all that you're doing in my life. I thank you for that, what you're doing in the life of those around me, those who are going to take part in this program, who see it now or see it later. I pray you bless them, Father. And Father, as I take the time to pray, I ask forgiveness for any sinfulness that might be in our lives, one way or the other, sins of omission or commission. I ask forgiveness for trespassing and give those who trespass against me. And Father, as I come before you right now, I want to stand up right before you so that I can speak with confidence. I can speak with authority. As I share in my past, bring back to remembrance those little thoughts that might make a difference in someone's life. So as I share, I'll be able to share that as well. I give you honor and glory in all things. I pray that you open eyes, ears, minds, and hearts. Let something be said that's going to educate, motivate, or inspire someone to rise to the occasion that they might be better positioned to rise above life situations and circumstances. It's in the spirit of Christ I pray. Amen, amen, and amen. All right. Having gotten the prayer out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get started now. Welcome, Muhammad. Peace and blessings be unto you, my brother. I'm looking at my eye. I have one person there, and that may be you, Muhammad. I'm not sure, but in any case, we're going to be talking about a chief aim, and I was making reference to how all this started with being a publisher and getting to the city of Augusta and asked the question, what can we do to make a difference in the lives of those, the younger people? And at the time, I didn't really give it all that much thought, but as I reflect back, that was a great undertaking. And even today, I still consider it to be one of the greatest things that I've done. I won't say to date, but during that time frame, it was one of the greatest things that I did. So I want to begin in this manner. I did a newspaper called The Rise, just to show you all what it looks like. Here's a copy of The Rise. This, you see the word there, The Rise. It's backwards here. But when I did this paper, that was the name of the paper, The Rise. So now, as I introduce myself, I am Jamie Eatman, and I am on The Rise. On The Rise is different than The Rise. And as I go through the program, you're going to find out why. But The Rise began here. Actually, it began here, but it expanded to here. And this publication was done for, I think it was about 4 years. And those were challenging 4 years for me, but they were educating 4 years for me. If you can imagine doing something and it's just you, it demands a lot of you. But if you're going to get it done to the point where it will be of any reputable, have any type of reputation, especially for what we were looking to do. We were looking to make a difference in the lives of youth around us. So that called for a publication that had something of content, something of character. Now, naturally, all of that wasn't me, but the bulk of the work was, and that's the portion that I want to emphasize. But not just the work, as far as the beyond the work, there was a lot of things that took place, and all of those things were important. But none of them did I realize how important they would be to me later on in life. And today is when I can make that statement. They are very, very important to me. I'm going to share this story with you all. Once I sat down and I took a pen and paper, and for some reason I was just looking at my life. I was kind of going to determine where I was. I had asked 3 questions: where I've been, where I am, and where I'm going. Now, those were 3 questions. Those are supposed to be 3 different writings. So the first one was where I've been. And that one, I have to find that one. The other one was where I am, and the other one was where I'm going. And sad to say, I lost one of those documents. The other 2 I still have. But the one I have with me right now that I want to share is where I am. So I want you to imagine this document. It dates back probably to at least before 2012. So let's just say it goes back approximately 20 years. I know that 2012 and now it's 20 years, but the document dates back 20 years. I was doing a publication. So during that time frame, I sat down and I was going to prepare these 3 documents. Now, I don't know what would have possessed me to do that, because it's not like I had it like that, or I had done such great work that this would have been a good time to do this. But I did it nonetheless. So I'm going to share with you the document, what was written and what was contained within it. So here we go. As I share this document, it was written, and I don't have an actual date on here, but it was written at a point where I guess spiritually I was just finding my way. And actually I shouldn't say that. I actually had found my way before that, but I didn't know that I had found my way. I didn't know how much I had found my way. I didn't learn that till later. And you might wonder what that means. What that means is this: most people tell you when they got saved, when they met the Lord, and when they met the wife, and when all these changes occur. But there's something with character. When we realize that we have character, that's not when the character was made. That's not when the character was shaped. So what I'm saying here is, as I read this document, I'm sharing this document with you, that at the time that it was written, I didn't know the content that was in the character or the place where it came from. So here we go. I'm going to share this with you. This document is called Where I Am. And it says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he says unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. That's a Bible verse, Habakkuk 2:1. And as I wrote that verse, everything else here followed. Again, I will stand I will watch, I will stand upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he will say unto me. And I was doing some things in life, and I guess that's when you really begin to question where you are, who you are, the value of what you're doing. So when I was looking at this from this perspective, if I can repeat those words again, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he says unto me. So with some of the things I was doing, I really hadn't taken inventory of what it was. I guess you could say that's what the moment was about, kind of looking at where I am, what it is I'm doing, and maybe trying to some way relate to or give some value to it. So as I sat there and I wrote those words there, the next line that came as I read this a couple of days ago, but as I read it a couple of days ago and I thought about the words, it took on a very prophetic meaning, as prophets, they prophesy. So this took on that type of a meaning for me. So as you listen to it, it might sound like this is something brand new. And as I read it, it was like it was brand new, like I was writing it now, but I wrote it over 20 years ago. In my life, this was appropriate then, and it's appropriate now. And no, I haven't been stagnant for 20 years. That's not the case. What I mean by that is these words spoke to where I was then, and they speak also to where I am now. Odd. That's all I can say. But it starts this way. Where I am today is best summarized in these words. Today I am. Those of you men and women of faith, you would probably relate to that. Some of you probably would be a little upset with the way it's worded, but nevertheless, where I am today is best summarized in these words. Today I am. Today I am. I'm going to go on from there. It says, to understand what it means to be is to know where one is. To understand what it means to be is to know where one is. I mentioned a song to you earlier that said, do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? I don't know what prompted her song, but as I was writing these words, it was a realization, a revelation of what it meant to be on the rise. So as I continue, it went on to say, to understand what it means to be is to know where one is. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you in the shuffle? Where are you in this thing called life? Welcome, my dear Angela. Peace and blessings be unto you. And it says, invite Lady Silky. Lady Silky as a guest. Lady Silky, do you care to join me? And Angela OTR, do you care to join me? I'm going to send out, I've asked the question, so I'm going to send out the request. If you all care to, it's all right. For those of you who are basically on Facebook, you won't be able to see the others that will possibly be joining me. And they may not. That's sort of a thing that's up in the air. But in any case, I have sent some invitations. And sometimes when you're on the rise, you have to know how to go. I'll go if I have to go all by myself. By myself. Unfortunately, I don't have to. I got two people that just came in. My dear sister Erin Moore, welcome. Peace and blessings be unto you. Let me make sure we get you stuck in here. Gonna send you an invite again. Erin Moore and okay, your choice. And this is Ohima. Ohima, peace and blessings be unto you. How are you doing, Ohima? I may be saying that wrong. If I'm saying it wrong, unmute yourself and let me know. I won't know till you tell me. Peace and blessings be unto you. I thank you for joining me. You know, I always like people that will stand by me, regardless. You never know what is going on. And when someone thinks enough to stand by you, you should never take that for granted. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And that is, it's Ohima Friendby. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Not a problem. We're going to go ahead and continue. But I was going over this document, and this document, it basically is something that was written for me, by me. Welcome, my dear Angela. Peace and blessings. How are you? We were just here early.
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. You got time today? Or you? I know you were kind of busy early. Irma, I sent. Let me send her another request. Sometimes it's people when it comes up. I think that's going to get it though. That should bring her right on in. But welcome, 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 Angela. We spent some time earlier, as you remember. I was actually going to get deeper into this definite chief aim. Greetings, Irma. Peace and blessings. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know Angela, right? You all have been in here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Angela gets, you know, people always tell me how I get around. I'm all over the place. They don't know Angela got me beat. Hands down, she's won already. But I want to thank you both for joining me. I was about to talk about my chief aim. Chief aim. I know you, Irma, you're familiar with Napoleon Hill, right?
Yes.
Think and Grow Rich. I was sharing earlier that concerning the document that the book actually encourages one to prepare. And the document was it's actually called My Definite Chief Aim. So when you study the program, it has you write out your definite chief aim. And that definite chief aim is sort of like a guide, or it definitely keeps you focused. I went back and I read mine, and I can see where I actually didn't fulfill it, but I saw exactly why when I went back to read it. But before I get into that, what I was just sharing just now is about where I am. I wrote something when I was in Augusta, and this was more than 20 years ago when I sat down and I wrote this document. And at the time I was doing this publication, I was about to kind of take inventory. So I was going to do these 3 documents. One was where I've been, you know, looking at my past. The other one was where I am. And the one after that was supposed to be where I'm going. Let me see what this flash goal sent me. They need 4 gifters to send Rose to my live in 15 minutes. The Rose. Is this? Okay. Is that the one? That's the 1 cent one, right? Yeah, I think it is. If you all would, I'm going to pin this. If you just click on it where it's pinned up there, it'll drop down. And if you just press that, it'll allow you to go ahead and send a Rose. So I need 2 more. But if you all will go ahead and do that, that would be great. Only 1 will count from each one of you. Thank you so very much. So we need 1 more and we'll have that done. That will be out of the way. Again, thank you all so very much for joining me. You know, when the program started, I was wondering, I'm off to a slow start here. Where's everybody? And then I realized Wednesday, I do this at 8 p.m. The other days I do it at 4. So no, people may not be expecting me at this time, but here I am. And I'm going to go ahead and I was saying concerning this document that I had written. This document, you know, when it comes to time, I like to try to share my experience with people and try to make them meaningful. But sometimes you you can miss the mark. It looked like we were achieved the goal. I want to thank you all for your support in doing that. Okay, thank you so very much. So, but sometimes you can miss the mark when you want to tell someone something. And I don't know if it's because, for me, I love words. I think sometimes I overuse them. But I think this is why I feel that this may not say what I'm thinking it's saying to everyone. But I want everyone to try to relate to this. If you can imagine having some words or something said to you in life, and you held on to it, and the words that were said to you, they were just as important 20 years later as they were the day that someone said them. So in fact, as I read this, and I'm going to read straight through it, and I want to get y'all's opinion on it. But the words are so pertinent. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make it somewhat a topic of discussion because we have 2 hours. We have enough time. But here's the first portion, and I want you all to help me out a bit. Where I am, that's where I am. We know that am is the present, right? So when this was written, it was written at a point where I was present time, 20 years ago. And as I wrote this and I was reading it again, it says, where I am today is best summarized in these words. Today I am. That little piece there makes sense because, if I was then and I still am, then naturally that would make sense. That's not a problem. To understand what it means to be is to know where one is. Now, that was the piece that kind of caught me, because where I was then, it's like as I read that and I read it now, it isn't like it's complimenting me, you've done better, you've done worse. It seemed like it's just speaking in the moment. And that's the portion that's interesting. To understand what it means to be is to know where one is. I thank God that I know that I am today, because there was a time when I didn't know, and I didn't know that I didn't know. Now, what makes those words interesting is with where I was then and writing this, I've learned so much more. And even reading it now, there was a time when I wrote this, there were some things that I didn't know then that I know now. So even though then I didn't know that I didn't know the things that I didn't know, now I know those things that I didn't know, but there's still things that I learned that I didn't know that I know. So it still speaks to me in the present. It's almost like it won't lend itself to the past. I hope that makes sense. I thank God that I know that I am today, because there was a time when I didn't know, and I didn't know that I didn't know. When one arrives at a point of knowing that he or she is, then surely he or she has arrived. That expression, I've arrived. Most people think that, when you made it, I've arrived. I think that may have been the way that was used. But today, it's like I'm at some new things. There's some new things that's been asked or demanded of me. And as I work toward those new things, I can only thank God for them, for where I am today. So as I look at these things, I'm moving forward. Sister Yana, peace and blessings be unto you. How are you?
Peace and blessings unto you. How are you?
I am doing well. I was going over a document, and when I get through it, then we'll go ahead and kick the program. This was kind of a setting the foundation here.
Awesome.
This is a document that's 20 years old. You missed the first paragraph, but this is the second. I'm going to read that sentence again. It says, when one arrives at a point of knowing that he or she is, then surely he or she has arrived. The where is not near as significant as the time. And get that, the where is not near as significant as the time. Again, this was written 20 years ago. And here it is today. These words are still speaking to me about time, but it's not a past time. It speaks about the present. The where is not near as significant as the time. Where I am here, but more importantly, it's now. That's amazing. Life is a journey on which we travel in search of an undiscovered bound. We come into the world ill equipped for travel until we discover the significance of the here and now. Here and now. Where I am is a most significant space and time. Now, this was 20 years ago. I've come to realize that one's success in life depends on one's state of mind. Now, I want to let you all know something here. Now, my introduction is I'm Minister Jamie Eatman, and I am on the rise. When I wrote this, I wasn't on the rise. I was doing the rise. The rise was a newspaper. It was a physical thing. It was an outward thing. It had all this significance to it, but it wasn't the same as being on the rise. But this still speaks, I guess you could say it was prophetic in that it says wow. Let me just read it as it says here. It says, I've come to realize that one's success in life depends on one's state of mind. So going from being that publisher of that newspaper to being where I am today, co-founder of On the Rise, a mindset, a spiritual aspect, it makes a world of difference in the way things are or the way I see them. But I'm going to go on and finish this. It says, a mother told her son to keep climbing. Life ain't no crystal stairs. I borrowed that from a poem. Maya heard it and she proclaimed, still I rise. The mother and Maya both knew what it meant to be on the rise. At that time, on the rise wasn't even on the rise. The on the rise was referring to doing the newspaper. But today there's no newspaper and there's the on the rise. Life reveals that we are born and we live and we die. But neither of the three, birth, life, or death, are as significant as the here and now, the here and now. Where I am where I ought to be, searching for my destiny. I am on the rise. When I wrote that is so prophetic, because at that time I was struggling with the newspaper, a lot of things I was going through, and though I was able to write that, I wasn't there. And today, as I read it, it's almost as I wrote it right now, just now, sitting here. But it's a big difference. But we're about to talk about some things that are equally, if not more important. But I'm going to start off, I've done the prayer with introductions at this time. And I want you all to know I'm actually operating on two platforms here. I am doing on the Blue app and I am doing TikTok. So our first introduction is going to be my dear sister Yana on the Blue app. So Sister Yana, can you give us an introduction, please?
Sure. That poem that you wrote so long ago is very timely, if I must say. Future, past, present, it's very timely, and it struck a couple of chords as well. It ought to have brought you to moments of reflection. But
Mm-hmm.
I can appreciate it. I mean, I met you back during that time, and yes, you were in a different place, but weren't we all? Um, I can truly appreciate you for the gems you have dropped on me, and looking forward to going further in my life because I know there's more, and I am truly on the rise.
All right, well said. All right, we're coming to the TikTok side here. Chima, are you speaking to us yet? All right, we don't need the box yet, but if my box gets full, I'm going to sit you down. My dear Angela, can you give us a brief introduction? Are you there, Angela? Are you there, Ernie? Okay, go ahead.
I just got some background noise. But yes, I'm Angela. And as you were speaking, I thought about a song that we learned back in high school, and it was called We've Only Just Begun. And each time you start over a new chapter or begin something or extend something in your life, it's like a new beginning. So with TikTok, for me, this is a new beginning. And I'm liking the community and what we're doing and the help we're giving to other people. That's it.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. And that was Angela OTR. Earn More. Are you there? Earn More. Are you there? We'll come back to Earn More. I can't even blame it on Earn More's network. Okay, God We Are. I know that's not what it says. It says, let me bring that up to make sure. God We You. Peace and blessings be unto you, my sister. How are you?
I'm blessed. Good night, everyone. Is it On the Rise? What's the name of the poetry?
Oh, that I read, it was Where I Am, but it pertained to being on the rise. Where I Am was the title of it.
Oh, Where I Am. But I didn't hear quite the entire poetry to make a comment on it. But On the Rise is very excellent because where you look at yourself from back then to now and see the progress that God has done in your life, it will be a marvelous thing to see that progressions. And you know, when God has started a work in us, He always there to complete it. You know, He's faithful and just to complete the work He has started.
Yes.
As you were reading that one particular theme there on the rise, it has really touched me in one way because on the rise for me, meaning you are climbing and climbing any ladder, maybe the cooperative ladder, or you are climbing your spiritual ladder. And while you were reading, I was thinking about each step. You know, my mom always tell us that each step you make is a step to completing. But sometimes we climb and then we step back down. So sometimes we just go up and we come down. So On the Rise is like a memory that my mom told me. And our spiritual life, our marital life, or whatever life you want to put it, life at the job place, we have this rise and fall situation. So On the Rise is, for me, is a very positive thing because when you think about going backward, you always think forward. So you know, always keep positivity in place and in check. So that's a very good theme. My name is God We You. God We You. Really supposed to be God Love You, right?
Okay.
But I was given the name God We You, and I accepted, and that is what I go at in my TikTok forum. But my name is Tavia, and it is a pleasure to be in your room, Pastor Jamie.
Well, thank you. Well, Tavia, your voice is Jamaican, right?
I am from Trinidad, but
Okay.
I'm not really Jamaican. But I have a problem with my voice because most of the time when I'm speaking, the Holy Spirit do minister, and sometimes I speak through the Holy Spirit. So my voice would tend to change. When I'm actually at speaking, like speaking to a class or speaking to in a forum, or speaking when I'm doing counseling, because I do a lot of counseling to young people. So my voice tends to change. So in a spiritual sense, it does change. When I'm speaking in public, it will change. And when I'm speaking around home, well, then all the little slangs will come in. So yes, I do have a little change in voice at times.
Okay, but what I was going to say, that sounds like something they would say on the normal God we you. You know, they use certain expressions like that. But that's why I was saying that. My brother Spencer, peace and blessings. How are you? My brother Spencer, are you there? I was hoping my brother was there. Brother Spencer and I, we're God is bringing us together some. My dear sister Sandy, how are you?
Good evening. I'm here. I'm blessed.
Well, that is all right. I missed you the last couple of days. You've been hiding out.
I was a little busy.
Oh, okay. Well, we're glad that you're back. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. All right. Sister Yana. Sister Yana, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Our topic today is about chief aims. And I want all you all to think about chief aims, because that's where we'll be coming from. And we're going to have our first little round of questions is going to pertain to chief aim. Let me tell you all where I got that from. I got that from Napoleon Hill, as I made mention earlier. He wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich. And there were these things that he had in that book about that helped determine a person's success. And one of the things he said was that a person had to have a burning desire to succeed. But he laid out this thing called, he actually called it a definite chief aim. And we're going to discuss it. And as we discuss it, we might even get around to possibly trying to prepare one. I don't think so with as many of us as there are, but we're going to get into at least discussing it, even if we don't get to prepare it. So what were your thoughts when you saw that topic? Definite chief aim. My chief aim. What were your thoughts?
I haven't seen it. All I did was get on because that's my due diligence, but I'm still not understanding what you're saying. Cheap aims? Like, am I cheaply aiming at something, or it's not making any sense. It's not gonna mute them right now.
Okay, no problem. We'll come back. Okay, Angela, chief aim. What does that say to you?
Yeah, it's asking me what is my burning desire? What is it that I care the most about? So, and I know it is to please God. I know, and to do, His ministry and His will. But we're referring to the OTR community, and that is to be a blessing to others, and to improve on myself, personal growth, and to be better, or I think of excellence, but I don't know if that's possible to obtain excellence, but that would be one of my aims.
Okay.
That's it.
Well said. Okay. Sister Yana, I let her went so you kind of would hear the vein of it, and then I would attempt to explain it so you get where I'm coming from. This guy that wrote the book, he didn't use regular terminology. I mean, when you think about burning desire, we would think about sin, but no, that's not what he meant. He meant in like you have to have a burning desire to get something. And the aim portion was like in life, what is it that you're aiming for? It's almost like goal, but what is the chief goal? We got various goals, but he's asking what is the your chief aim. So having heard that definition and that example, what are your thoughts on the aim? My aim.
My chief aims, okay, is to wake up every morning in my same frame of mind. To wake up every morning and be better than I was yesterday. That's in a nutshell.
Okay, that's close to what Sister Angela said. Okay, Sister Sandy, what do you say? Your chief aim.
My chief aim is to understand where I came from, my history, so that I can know where I'm going, my destiny. It's to learn more about myself and my spiritual journey. My greatest desire, seeking the truth, knowing the truth, and living the truth.
Okay, speaking the truth, knowing the truth, and living the truth. All right, well said. All right, my dear sister God, are you there?
In the spiritual side, my aim is to wake up every morning and worship God. And that is my desire, to worship Him. In the ordinary side, my aim is to fulfill my need as a mother and a grandmother. So my number one goal in life is to serve God and to do the best I can to see the success of my children. So that is my chief aim in life.
Okay, well said, well said. Are you there, Brother Spencer? Okay, lovely. How are you?
Hi, Pastor. Yeah, I'm good. Praise the Lord.
Amen. Yeah, did you hear our discussion so far concerning the chief aim?
Yeah, everybody has different things that Lord has uploaded in them. I guess mine, I love talking about Jesus. It's just He's the only way.
Mm-hmm.
And also I love to get knowledge, but I want to apply it more, not just have the knowledge, just apply that knowledge too.
Right. Okay. Want to not have the knowledge and apply it. Okay. When I looked at this about the chief aim, I kind of knew it would be something that if people hadn't heard of him, they'd probably look at that the thing that's most significant to them. And as you all have stated, from a spiritual perspective, you address your chief aims, which makes a lot of sense. But when I looked at it, having prepared the question, I was thinking in terms of a chief aim, which I had the opportunity to prepare in the past. So as I prepared that chief aim, and I was prepared. Greetings, One Griffin. Mute your mic for me. Mute your mic for me.
Yeah. Huh?
Mute your mic for me.
Good night. Good night.
No, mute your mic. Oh, that's your greeting. Okay. You know, it still throws me when people come in and say good night. I'm used to that when I'm leaving or someone's about to leave me. But welcome, my brother. Welcome. 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 Okay. My thought just evaded me. What was I saying? Well, I have a lot more thoughts. But anyway, I mentioned the document I had done. It was called My Definite Chief Aim. And what I'd like to do is kind of go through this with everyone. If you have a pen, I want you to write these questions down. I'm going to ask you the question and I want you all to answer, but you will then have the questions that are necessary to write out your own chief aim. It's actually called a definite chief aim. So if you all will get that pen, and I'm going to read mine to you, and then I'll go over the different portions that make up this chief aim. Mine, at the time it was written, I, Jamie Eatman, would be the owner and co-founder of a highly financially successful business, On the Rise Forum and Outreach International. In return, I will share the Rise winning philosophy and render the best quality in the capacity of a teacher/motivator. Effective 2/21/2012, I will begin conducting motivational classes and effectively managing business and family from then onward till the end of 2016. So I gave myself 4 years. And I will have 1,500,000 in my possession. I will live a respectable life, putting God first in pursuit of the kingdom of God. And other parts of this says philosophy. The goal of the Rise is the continual upliftment of the mind and spirit towards the attainment of greater thoughts, action, desires, and more abundant life. The motto was continually uplifting the mind and spirit. And the mantra is the joy of the Lord is my strength. You know, I just realized with that business motto, continually uplifting the mind and the spirit. So my thing today is I'm on the rise, continually uplifting mind and spirit. So I got that portion right. So if you all are ready, we're going to go and naturally and it will say state your own name. If you were to look at your chief aim, this would be the goal that you would want, that is so important to you, that this is where you would spend your goal or your life trying to obtain this. What would that goal be? For me, it was to be owner and co-founder of a highly financial, successful business. That was mine. What would it be? It could be to be a writer, whatever it is. What is that thing that you desire, have desired? Or if you haven't, you can just state that. But what would that thing be? Apostle says she's listening. Yana, let's start with you. What would that thing be?
What's the thing again? I was preoccupied.
Okay, it would be that that chief aim. It would be that thing that you set out to do.
The motivation.
Not just motivation. This would be the end goal. When you say I'm going to be, if you looked at life and chose what you were going to be, regardless of what tried to prevent you, or money isn't an issue. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things it's suggested. Just move everything. Just what do you have to offer society, and what would you be in doing or offering that?
I'm going to be an entrepreneur, because I've always said if I can work this hard for somebody else, I can work this hard for myself. I'm going to be able to give back. So my goal, my motivation, my desire is to be able to teach people before they go to work. Teach them how to be when they get to work. So you're dealing with professional people already. Make a class of people that's ready to be professional in their area or line of work.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you're going to be a counselor or mentor of youth before they actually go to work. Something
Yeah,
along.
I guess you can look at it like that. Yeah. But I'm
Okay.
going to teach, I'm going to train, I'm going to uplift, encourage things they didn't get at home as they've been babied and been a child at home all their life. And now they first job coming into the workforce, and you still think you're going to be treated like you live at home. No, those days are over.
Okay. All right. Sandy, what about you?
Just let me have 2 minutes and I come with mine.
Okay, sounds good. All right. My dear sister, God, you. Talk to me. What would that be for you?
as I said earlier, one of my aim, well, my aim is being accomplished right now, but the only aim beside my spiritual life is my kids. I have reached a stage in my life where I don't think I want to reach anywhere else. I am strong and bonded in my Christian life. And with all the things that is taking place in this world, my aim is to actually stay focused in Christ and to be raptured ready, meaning that if something should happen to me today or tomorrow, I am ready to meet my Lord and Savior. Another thing beside my Christian life, as I said before, is my children. So my goal is to make sure that my children and them are very successful and I am there 100% with them. For me, I live a life right now that I feel very, very completed in that sense. But one thing that I am doing now, I am writing a book. It is Midnight Secret. It's a romance novel that is based on Christianity. And this novel will have prayer. It is based on Christian family. It will have deceptions, lies, and murders. It will show the lifestyle of a Christian and how powerful it is and how we can be embedded in sin without even knowing it. It will also have poetry, songs, lullabies, and parables. There are psalmists that I have wrote some psalms that actually pair with the psalmist David. And it will have parables that will actually help people in simple and everyday life. When they read those psalms, they can acknowledge it, their life and their lifestyle. One of the parable was written like water running drain, blood running vein. You know, simple things that I grew up with that I have made it into a parable that was led by the Holy Spirit. Right now, the book is on hold because I am not getting the inspiration from the Holy Spirit to continue writing. So I have reached chapter 3 in that book, but my mind is not settled these days in order to be in that spiritual realm.
Okay.
And this is my main goal, and this is my only goal I have, writing this book in order to spread that word for my grandchildren. So this is like a gift. This book that I'm doing is like a gift for my grandchildren. I already did 3 poetry books that is unpublished, but I'm leaving it for my grandchildren and them so they can publish it in their names. And Midnight Secret will be published in my daughter's name. So I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this as a legacy. This is the legacy I can pass on to them. And one piece of advice I always give to people is that once you have children in life, you have to live for them, because once you bring them in this world, you have to know that it is your responsibility to take care of them. Yes, they say at 18 years they are an adult, but when you had them, how many help did you have to take care of them? And how many help they will have now to take care of their children. So it is a difference between the world back then and the world now. So my advice to all those who have children, please take time and spend with them, because children is the heritage of the Lord. And we are living in the last and closing days. So family is very important.
Okay. Well said. All right. Thank you so very much. Brother Spencer, are you there? Okay. One Griff. Peace and blessings, my brother. How are you? Your background is pretty loud, brother.
I was listening.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna let you listen because I can barely hear you. So just hang around and listen.
Yeah, I was listening.
Okay, no problem. That's what I was saying. Just go ahead and enter your comments in the text and I'll read them. Your background is pretty loud.
Okay.
All right.
What I was saying, that Sean come to stage, yeah, everything. Just make up everything where you step upon in that to serve the Lord and just serve Him. Just he says we are going to serve the Lord and just serve Him. I want to say that makes sense.
Okay.
Makes sense that some of us lost our path.
Okay.
Go back to God to see it, and we go back to God. It's never certain things wrong. Go back to Him and He show you everything wrong and right.
Okay. All right, my brother. I heard some of what you had to say. Go ahead and mute your mic, one Griffin. Your background's a little loud, but I was able to hear some of what you shared with us. Are you ready, Sandy? Okay, so her volume, her internet, her network. Okay. All right, so that portion there deals with that particular service that you would want to supply, or that thing. I think that was the word I used. And we're gonna let it go at that. But just so you all know, this would routinely be something that you have to be very specific about. You know how that saying, when you want to get something from God, you have to get it. And this is what that statement would mean. My brother on Facebook says, greetings, Brother Eatman, Tuscaloosa in the house. All right, my brother. So we got Union, Utah, and Tuscaloosa in the house. Love you, my brother. Thank you for joining me. You know, when you look at coming up and somebody you literally came up with, that's a blessing. So I thank you for joining me. Peace and blessings. Okay, so one Griffin, we've heard from him. My sister's not ready yet. Okay, so let's move on then. We'll go on to the next portion of this. Okay, Sister Yana. Based on what we just stated concerning Chief Aim, how much impact?
Say again, your question is not coming through.
How much influence do you think Chief Aim would have on someone's life if they had the Chief Aim? How much do you think it would influence their life?
At least 75 to 85%, because that should be their driving motivation. If they are not where they want to be, then that should be their driving force of motivation.
Okay, so that's pretty significant value that you gave to it. Okay, all right, thank you for that. Sandy, are you back yet? I see her cup. Okay, and Spencer, are you there? Spencer's not there. So we're gonna go ahead on. This is what I think concerning this particular question. How much influence or impact does having an aim make in one's life? I heard someone once say that if you don't have a plan, you will end up being a part of someone else's plan. In other words, if I have a plan to do something and you don't have a plan, and someone says, can you give me a hand? You could be giving them a hand for the next 20 years and what they're doing and never get back to what you're doing because you did not have a plan. So that becomes very important. A person who has a plan or have an aim in life, that keeps you focused. If you think about the words like a bow and arrow, and you let that arrow fly, if you have an aim, it is headed for a destined place. But if you don't have an aim and you just haphazardly shoot an arrow, it could land anywhere. And if you're that arrow, and you could just end anywhere versus at a particular goal or aim. So that is kind of where that question was going, where it was directed. The next question I have is this. Okay. The question was, do you have a chief aim, and how has it impacted your life? Either having it or not having it, how has it impacted your life? Jan, it's just you and me for now, so can you break away long enough to answer, or I can go first and give you some more time?
Nope, I'm here.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Let me post this in the room.
Call to action is come. Let us rise. Let us prosper. Okay.
No, that's not. Hold on 1 moment. That's not it. No, that would be too easy. Here we go right here. Okay. Do you have a chief aim? How has it impacted your motivation? So if you haven't or have, how has it impacted your motivation?
That one. Basically, just what I was just saying. I didn't realize that was the same question. I might would have answered the other one different. But yes, I do have a chief aim, and it is totally my motivation. That's why it is more beginning to focus, narrow strictly toward the focus of that which is my chief aim. My desires, my prayers, everything are beginning to line up and lead in that direction. How has it impacted my motivation? Because I would rather be there and not work a day in my life doing what I love.
Okay. I like that. She said a whole lot. That was a show by itself. She ended it with, I would not rather work a day in my life. In other words, it might be viewed as work, might bring the same income or whatever as work, but it would not be work because that's what she would love doing. And I love what she said about she does have a chief aim, and everything in her life is pointing toward that. And for those of you who don't get that, that's like the thing I read to you all earlier, where I am. At that time when I wrote that, I wasn't going around introducing myself as Jamie on the Rise. I was doing a newspaper which related to being on the rise, but was far from where I am today. But as I started to move, the directions that I moved actually guided me in a certain direction. And by having an aim, you have something that you're aiming for. You may not be there yet, but as the closer you get, the more you're focusing in on that particular project or that particular task. So I like that. Do I have a and I was because my mother encouraged me to. So I went into the military, and while in the military, I actually retired from the military. So most people will look at that as, wow, he had a great life. He went in the military young and retired and have a little time in life, but that wasn't an aim. That's the difference. Because it wasn't an aim, I just aimlessly went with the things that I was doing. Because I joined the Army, I stayed with it because I didn't have anything else that I chose or desired to do. So I just went with that. But later on, when I actually began to get a little bit of motivation, a little bit of knowledge, I then began to start looking at aims and looking at self-worth. Some would say, well, being in the military, that's pretty good. You retired. I can't say that's not what I wanted to do, but I never looked at doing anything else. So I can't say I chose that. That's what I started out at, and I continued at it. But in life, if you want to live a valuable life, a rewarding life, sort of like what Sister Yana just said, she doesn't see it as work. So if it's not work, then that means it's rewarding. That means it's pleasure. That means it's satisfaction. It's something other than work. And that's what we want. We want to strive for that. But if you don't have anything to aim for, if you don't have a chief aim, it's not going to be able to serve you as far as motivation. You'll keep going and you'll end up somewhere, but that somewhere wasn't anything you aimed for. There's a saying, aim for the moon and you'll land among the stars. You know, that makes sense because at least you're aiming for the moon and you almost kind of know where you're going to land. But if you're just going through life and you have no purposeful direction, sort of like what I just described to you, that's not to say you're going to fail. It's not to say you're going to succeed, but you will not be as successful as you would have been if you actually had a goal, if you actually had an objective. It would have made a difference. It would have made more of a difference, in other words. Okay, so that's that. Are you back yet, Sandy? I saw you pop in for a moment. Okay, the next question is, this is a good one here, Jan. I'm going to tell you about it, then I'm going to talk a little bit to give you some time to think about it. Because when I wrote this down, I thought I was proud of myself. That's how good I thought it was. But it may not register that way. But what it was I came up with the compare and contrast. So I want to compare and contrast aim and goal, an aim and a goal. Compare and contrast. Where did it go? Oh, there we go. Okay, compare and contrast, aim and goal. When I look at these two words, they are very similar, and someone, you know, unless they intentionally looked at them closely, it would appear to be an obvious answer. But it's a little bit more involved than that. So I'm gonna give my sister a few minutes and let her take first stab, and I will go behind her, first shot at it. I went from one word to the next, both of them wrong. Okay.
So,
You ready?
yes. The aim is a desire, it's a thought. It's very similar to a goal, but I'm gonna write my goal down. I'm going to see my goal in front of me every day. I'm going to strive to get whatever it takes, line up everything, purchase what I need to purchase, save, pray, and my goal is more actionable than my aim. My aim is my thought process. It's the direction that I'm going. It's changing my swaying to the left, swaying to the right, staying a little narrow. My aim is there for what I need to do. It's just actually moving it closer to seeing it quicker.
Okay. I like what you said there, and that is on point. And when you look at the two words in their definition, like you said, they are close. However, when I started, I referenced Napoleon Hill and the book that he did. And one of the things that he came up with when he came up with this definitive aim is what he called it. And what it does is it calls you to put together certain things in place that goes well beyond the traditional sense, a definition that we would associate with the word aim. For example, like you said, aim wouldn't sound like it would be less than a goal because it's just something you're aiming for. And I like the way you said that you would write down your goals. But what he defined as a definite chief aim, and I didn't give the word definite, I just used the word chief aim because I wanted us to speak in general as it pertains to this aim. But as he defined it as a definite chief aim, there were certain definitive characteristics that would have to be utilized to write that definite chief aim down. But as far as this little example that we were asked to compare and contrast, what a person aims to do would be, I would look at it as being beyond the goal. Because when we look at the goal, we could say that my goal is to do this. Before a person defines their goals, I'm thinking that your aim would have to be in place. You know, when someone says, I aim to inherit this, or I aim to be the next whatever, and then you have to determine how are you going to go about that. And that's when you put your goals in place. But that's just one way of looking at it. As we get into this document a little bit deeper, we're going to see that by following these steps, we can literally come up with a definite chief aim. But doing so really calls for, I guess, a commitment. Commitment is a strong word, because if you're going to look at something that's maybe years out and you are ever going to achieve it, it calls for a degree of commitment. So that's what I would say concerning those two words. Now let me touch on that commitment. I read my definite chief aim to you all, and I wrote this in 2/21/2012, and I gave myself 4 years to accomplish it. And needless to say, I did not accomplish it. And the reason that I was not able to accomplish it was because of the fact that I personally didn't utilize the time the way I should have. I didn't keep my eye on the prize. That which I was aiming to do, or I stated was an aim, I did not have the burning desire to see it through. I did not have the commitment to see it through. I did not use affirmations. You know, he mentioned so many things in his book. Someone had said that they see this motivation. You have to think about what that world looks like. The people that are actually in the world of motivation, as it pertains to motivation, they actually utilize, let's just say, principles. They utilize certain principles. When this guy made this book about you have to have a burning desire, I hadn't heard that until I read the book. But a burning desire, when I read what he was saying, it basically made a lot of sense. If you have a person that has a burning desire, that person is not going to focus on anything else. They're going to stay to task. You're going to offer them to go left, go right. No, I'm going wherever. They are going to stay on point. So when you add up all the things that this guy listed in this book, it made sense. It made a lot of sense, as a matter of fact. And needless to say, I went on and I read the book. And as a result of reading it, I came up with my definite chief aim, which is different than just a chief aim, a definite chief aim. But there are some things as it pertains to this aim. And it's like a template to it. Okay, first thing you would start off with is it says I, and you state your name. And then it asks for the amount of money you intend to acquire. Can you imagine that? You want to state at this point the amount of money. Can you imagine that, Yana, if I said to you, Yana, how much money do you intend to acquire? You know, that's like seemed like a far out question. But the way he worded it and how it came into play became very important. And it said the amount of money you intend to acquire. Next thing was name the time limit of its acquisition. So you had to put a time limit on this. Within this time frame, I will achieve this amount of money. Then it goes on to say, state what you intend to give in return for the money. You know, the law, their principles. You have to give something in exchange for the money that you're going to be getting. So that was another step. And the other one was describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate the money. So when you think about the plan, how do you intend to accumulate it? You gave a good answer earlier, Yana, if you remember, about the young ladies and how I said it was mentoring and counseling. But that was one of the steps. Clearly describe your plan and how you intend to accumulate it. It would be like starting at a school, coming up with an after school or whatever it was that you needed to do to get that amount of money. And naturally, because you asked for a certain amount, whatever you did would have to be inconsistent with what it was that amount was. And the last portion was, it says, read your written statement aloud twice a day, once just before retiring at night and once after arising in the morning. As you read it, see it and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. Now, that last piece said in possession of the money. With everything else that it just described, it goes back to the money. So when you hear a term like that and the burning desire and money being so significant and believing and seeing that you already have the money in your possession, does that sound like it might be a gray area to you, Yana? You know, that saying, love of money is a root of all evil. Does it sound like money might be a problem?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's always a problem.
But money it gets you to the end. Money answers all things. And you know, the love of money is the real problem. The money, getting it and all that, it does tend to be a problem. And if you don't have enough, that's a problem. And if you have more and somebody wants it, that's a problem. So money, there's a lot of problems surrounding money. But as long as I didn't have that love of, I think I'd rather have some of the money related problems. Because minus the money related problems, it usually means we're short, or as they would say, broke or whatever. But looking at that, I wanted to read my definitive chief aim again in light of what that says. So listen for these things. Listen for the name. I, Jamie Eatman, and what does it say? Will be the owner and co-founder of a highly financially successful business on the Rise Forum and Outreach International. So that would be what? Let's see what that would be. That would be what I intend to give in exchange for the money. Actually, that's just the name of the company. So that doesn't really apply. Then it goes on down. So here we get into, this is where I'm getting into what I'm going to give in exchange for it. State what you intend to give in return for the money. So I will share the Rise's winning philosophy and render the best of quality in the capacity as a teacher and a motivator. So I'm going to teach and I'm going to motivate in exchange for the money. Effective date, that would be the date that all this is supposed to take place. And that goes into the time frame. It says, describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate, state what you intend to give, and name the time limits of its acquisition. So effective 2/21/2020, which is 2016. And I also stated what I intend to give. I said, I will begin conducting motivational classes and effectively managing business and family from then onward to the end of 2016. And the amount, I was specific, $1,500,000 in my possession. And my thing beyond that would be that I would live this respectable life, putting God first. So all that little statement there, it wasn't something I sat down to just write haphazardly. In other words, there was some training and some philosophy that was put into it. And when I wrote that, had I kept that as a focus, you ever run into someone who seemed to be overly concerned with their goals and objectives? You ever met someone like that, Yana? They were very, very.
Yes.
You have?
Yes, overly and overly confident, which isn't a bad thing. Sometimes it's when you're trying to shove your vision and goals down somebody's throat, it can be kind of a turnoff.
Right. And I like what you said about being overly confident. But imagine this person getting up yonder every morning, reading this statement, going to bed. It's the last thing he hears and the first thing he sees in the morning. And he's saying these things to himself as aspiration. That's where you get into the thing with the burning desire. So that's how that burning desire comes into place. When that burning desire is present, that person then goes after that. And as you stated, he may appear or come across a certain way because of that burning desire. So I've never, I can honestly say I didn't get to the point where this was a burning desire for me. But I think if I look at my life now, where I am and what I put on this paper, I am literally, according to this, I am 9 years off in doing it, but I'm also at a point where that is what I'm doing. Had I stayed the course, what took me 9 years to get to where I am now, let's just say I had stayed the course and focused on getting there. From what I've learned about money, to be honest with you, that 1,500,000 isn't a lot of money, but minus that focus, I can attest to the fact it didn't happen. So the didn't happen piece, I look at that as being more me than the plan. I didn't stick to the plan. So if there's something we could take away from not sticking to the plan, it's just that it can be very costly not sticking to the plan. It can be very costly not having a plan. So we want to make sure as much as possible that we have that plan in place, because it makes a difference. It makes a very big difference in the end, whether we do or don't have that plan in place. The apostle just came in. Let's get her in here. Greetings, apostle. How are you?
Greetings, greetings.
Peace and blessings.
I was listening, but I was busy. So
Okay. Well, based on what you heard, what would you like to contribute?
I heard you from the beginning. So yes, like Yana said, or said that we know from whence you came. We know, from the newspaper, and we know 20 years and going, and we've seen the changes, and it's always been God's plan for you to do what you're doing, because he gave it to you. He gave it to you as the rise. So it's always been his plan, but it had to be fulfilled. It had to be taken from the beginning, and despise not small beginnings. But he had to plant the seed in you, and now the seed is growing. Okay, it hasn't fully matured, but it's like when you plant a tree or you plant anything, it has to germinate first, and then you can see it sprouting, and you can see it coming forth, but it never matures until it gets to full growth. And I mean, trees are years and years and years old, and you can see how tall they are and how magnificent they are, and the beauty of the tree. But you don't see the beauty of the tree when you plant the seed. So the seed has to mature. So as you mature, you grow in Christ and you become what he has called you to be. And that's where you go back to write the vision and make it plain. And they that read it will run with it. So first, God has to put the vision or the seed in you so that it can come forth and be what God is calling you to be. and what God is calling us to be and what God is calling me to be. And we will be what God has called us to be if we keep striving and we keep pushing and we keep rising and we keep maturing. We'll be all that God would have us to be.
Well said. Well said. That is so true. You know, there's a saying that if we, I like what you said, keep rising and keep maturing. That's one of the things I share. We have to rise to the occasion, and when we rise to the occasion, that's only a part of it. So when we've risen to the occasion, then comes the being obedient, and once we've been shown the avenue, we pursue the avenue. So you're right. It's not enough just to be there. It's like I love to go to the garden, as you know. It's like Jesus being there in the garden. That's only a part of the journey. That decision that has to be made beyond that is actually on the other side of the garden. So you have to be able to get to what lay ahead of you in order to get beyond it and to where you're expected to be. So I like what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense to me.
And see, by us being there in the beginning, we can see what God is doing. And you know, as individuals, when we're in the beginning, even at the birth, you birth it, whether it be a child or whatever it is, you birth it, and it's not what it's going to be when it's birthed. It has to grow and mature into what God would have it to be.
Well said. Well said. And that's the case with all of us. And the more we are focused on that particular goal, the easier it becomes to get there. But if we are focused on everything else, our mind is on the cares of the world, you know, instead of us trusting God and moving forward, we may very well be hindered or our journey be delayed. Again, going back to that garden episode, when we see Jesus there and those 3 times, a lot of us find ourselves in a circuit, but until we actually have the right mindset, it's going to be a challenge moving forward, getting. So that is a challenge we all face. But it's good to be able to look at things like that and see that in the end, if we are obedient, there's a reward for it. But it doesn't make the journey any less challenging. That's how we grow in faith. I had asked Yana about the 2 words, and the 2 words that we were dealing with. I want to get your thoughts on them. They were, what were they?
Aim and goal.
Yes.
Compare and contrast.
That was it. Yes.
Okay, because I see it on the page. But a goal is what you set. And you aim for the goal. Okay. But you have to stay focused as you're aiming for the goal or aiming to get to the goal, whatever the goal is. So there are different goals, and we can mark our goals. You know what I'm saying? We can achieve something and then make another goal and achieve that. But we're always aiming for the goal.
Right.
And
okay.
It's the goal post, it's the goal. It's something that you're aiming for.
I got you. That makes and the way you put that out, I like the way you said it. You know, you can keep adjusting the plans or whatever, but you're aiming for the goal post. It's like football. It may start way at the other end. They like a touchdown, but they are aiming to get this field goal. So they do all these things to get down there, and ultimately, what's determined is if you achieved it or not, is if you get it through the field goal, through the goal post. So that makes a lot of sense. Anything else that you heard you want to come in on or share?
I was going back to when Yana was speaking about what what her goal was, or what her vision was, and putting the vision on the board, per se. You were saying to mentor, to counsel, to encourage. And I thought more of what she was saying was she's helping, assisting, helping people. And there's different ways of assisting and helping people to meet their goal. And basically that's what she's doing. Her desire is to prepare people to be prepared. Okay, it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
Right. And listening to what you're saying, because Yana she specifically went to children. So children, as like you and I know, there was a point when we were probably about as smart as rocks. And as we got older, we became a little wiser. And I like what Yana was saying, because it sounds as though she wants to catch them at the age of the rocks and start pouring into them so that they will be saved some of the journey that we had. So that's why I said the mentor piece.
Yeah, I think she wants to do that, but she also wants to get the ones that are already lost and need to be roped back in and put on the right track. You know, that when you get in high school, a lot of times you're pursuing something, but a lot of times you lose focus and you even lose where you're aiming for. You know you're aiming for a goal, but you can't do it unless you have the sufficient help to lead and guide you and get you in the right place so that you can stay focused on what God is calling you to do.
I like the way you said that, and if I may go back to my comment, as I stated, for me, my whole thing with the military, you know how it's a great career to do, retire from the military and all that. And I gave the example of how even for me that wasn't a goal. It happened. I joined early because my mother thought it was the best thing to do, and it was a job. So when I joined, not really having anything I chose to do, I didn't have a clue about going to college, though I did some college while in the military. I didn't see that as a career alternative. So I just kept doing what I was doing until I actually retired. And now that I retired, Yana used the word entrepreneur. I find myself seeming like I'm just starting in the, I wouldn't say the workforce, but my life is just starting as an entrepreneur, minus the thought of retirement and relaxing. There's no relax mode because I'm almost just in the entrepreneur mode, if that makes sense.
Well, now you're preparing for a career. Even though the military was a career, it was already, what do you say about the military? It's already laid out. It's nothing. All you got to do is do what you're supposed to do. The directions are there. It's already been placed. The military is the military. So you're going to do and go through the steps and be all that you can be. But it's just for the military. It's for whether it be the Army, the Air Force, whatever part of the government it is. But it's not a personal career or a personal goal or what God has for you.
Right.
People do complete those things, but you also have to know what is my purpose and fulfill your purpose in life.
Right. And that's what I was getting at. None of that was purpose. It was actually because I was on a path and I continued it. You know, that's like someone starting a path and not taking the time to learn what are the alternatives. They just continue the path. And that was where I was at that point in time, as it pertains to being in the military. And it so happened that I, like you said, I just happened to be on what was one of the ideal avenues for someone my age at that point. So I end up completing that and enjoying the benefit of it. But I can't say that I had this great plan and I followed this plan, because in reality I didn't. That as I look back on it, that's the thing that I see. I didn't plan to be where I am with that. I followed and stayed with that until it was done. And then I began to see that there was something I really desired to do. So up until I saw that there was something I desired to do, because there was no desire or the absence of a desire, I just kept going with what I was doing. I know that may not make sense, but I think a lot of people may end up in that scenario, which is why what Yana says could have great value when a person begins to think strategically or even have a glimpse of what the future might offer and see themselves as having a choice versus just living. As Marvin Gaye said, I wasn't living, I was just surviving. And I thank God it wasn't a bad survival, but it definitely wasn't a choice or a life choice or a life goal.
Yeah. And if I go back to myself, ministry has always been a part of my life, a part of me. Whether it be in the ministry of helps, I've always been one to assist others to get to where they need to go. And I started out that way, as always helping. You know, I am a helper. So I'm also a leader, but I also with my leader, trying to think what they are. With my leadership skills, I try to help others so that they can do the same thing.
Right. And that becomes significant, because that was one of the few things I really enjoyed about the military. I had an opportunity to do some things that in a roundabout way prepared me for today. As I look back, a lot of supposed mishaps or things that I wouldn't have planned for, I see them as being directional. To get where I am today, there's certain training that I needed, and one way or another, that training was made available. Where I am now, there's a certain mindset that's needed, and I find myself in possession of that. It wasn't that I knew what they were and I decided, sit down, well, this is what I need to get done. This will better equip me for this. Didn't do any of that. It's like, what's that saying? God takes care of children and fools. I think that's the way.
Fools and babies, yeah, babies and fools or something.
So in my life, I look at it as being kind of foolish, because I didn't have the direction. I didn't have the goals. So I can only thank God for where I am and know that it was his direction that brought me here.
But the military is good for that. The military keeps you focused, because you have to stay focused on what your job is, whatever the thing is, whatever you have to do, you have to be focused. And they train you in that particular way. So even when you're not in the military, when you're out of the military, you still have all that training that got you in the right direction. You're not off focus. You always stay in line. It's
Right.
like them lining you up. You're going to stand in that straight line no matter what. You're going to march to the music, to the sound of the beat. Whatever it is, the military trained you to stay focused.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. And it keeps you in a certain pocket until such time as you exit it. And when you exit it, you are trained fairly well. I can't deny that. All right. Was there anything else? I got two that are new over here. Let me run over here and see if they have anything. Sister Sandy, peace and blessings. Are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Peace and blessings.
From what you heard, was there anything you wanted to add?
The little that I heard, it was you were speaking about your upbringing or something like that, both of you, and how you make it this far, something like that. Is it
Right.
that what I heard?
Yeah, there was some of that. Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, well, I just simply want to say, there's so many things I would have liked to be as I grew up, but my mom had so much of, and I was never a pushy person. I don't know. Sometimes I smile to myself and, I call myself, like it's so humility, full of your simplicity, quiet, like the quiet gone over to stupidity because, I'm just in my humble corner. I'm just a humble person, and allow a lot of things to pass me by.
Right.
But like you said just now, it's just for the grace of God, for where I am today. And I used to say, it's like, I kind of blame the parents to myself, not to them. It's like, but then one time I had to ask myself, so what are you going to do about it now? Now you've grown. The onus of you now, life is still life thing. So what are you gonna do now? If your mother and father time pass, there's now the onus on you to take up your bed and walk.
Right.
So I'm still this kind of never pushy, but I'm a place now where I understand who I am and whose I am. No college graduate, no doctorate, no rate, but I still find life inform me. I still find that, I went into business, was an entrepreneur doing some stuff. And then, in my country, it was a little fight down. So we had to close that business. But through it all, I believe that the grace of God is with me because I'm still growing, still glowing, Every day is better than the day before without no hard working or stuff like that. I'm blessed. And like I always said, I'm on this line and I'm on the rise.
Yes. Well, and that's the great thing, that you are on the rise. When we get to that point, that goes back to the thing I read about Where I Am, when it says to understand what it means to be is to know where one is. So when you can say you're on the rise, that's actually that where. So I like that. Well said. Brother David, were you listening in? Did you want to add anything?
No, not at the moment. I can't.
I was before, but this will drop me. I think I am bad. That's why I come back. How are you, sir?
I am doing well. Well, thank you for coming back. Appreciate it. All right. Well, everyone has heard what they've heard. Any final thoughts before we get into our Emmy moment? Any questions before we go to our Emmy moment?
Yeah, what is the thing for tonight?
I just want to, I just want to greet everyone, coming to the room every day, showing up. It's a blessing, blessing to have you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
You give us line to follow. I'm honored, I'm humble, sir. To follow the footsteps, because when you follow a leader, leader has to do with everything we are doing in life. So your leadership is so I don't know how to put it. It's so very, very special, sir. I thank you for everything you have been doing. When you go on the street, everyone know what the limits here, because they know you bring wisdom. So thank you for the wisdom you have imparted on us and everyone on the street. Thank you, sir.
All right. To God be the glory. My dear Sandy, your Emmy moment?
My name is Sandra. Cool, calm, and collective, but yet beautiful. I'm grateful for my health and well-being. I'm filled with vibrant energy and I feel alive and well. I am grateful for the gift of good health and vitality. I feel surrounded by love everywhere. My heart is open. Real love starts with me. I see love everywhere I go. I am grateful for the people who loves me. I want to give God praise and thanks for my health and strength, for everything. I thank God for you, that I can come here or I can stop you wherever you go so that I can, learn a thing or two wherever you go. So this is my Emmy moment.
Well, thank you for your Emmy moment. And I couldn't think of a better person to stalk me. So keep stalking me. Brother Spencer, are you there? One Griffin, are you there? When Griffin's background was noisy, I was going to give him a chance, see if anything had changed. All right, Emmy moment, Apostle.
Yes. I can't remember what we started out with. What was the theme for tonight?
It was about what was it? I got it right here. It was about our chief aim.
Pardon?
Our chief aim.
Oh, okay. That was the thought. Our chief aim, or what are we aiming for?
Yeah, that was it. The chief aim, and you can go there with it, but that was actually the title. My chief aim.
Oh, okay. I heard you when you came over with your poem and everything, and how you went from where you were to where you are, and where you're seeking to go, or whatever. Before we have a goal before we're called home. And when we were created, God created us with a purpose in mind, and we have to strive to and our aim is to complete what God is calling us to do and the purpose that He has called us to. So I am Crystal Harris, and I am on the rise, and my aim is to be all that God is calling me to be.
All right now. My dear sister Yana.
It's in blessings. Yes. And my aim was to be on tonight, regardless of what the outcome were going to be. I rose to the occasion and I showed up, despite my situation and circumstances that I was in. I didn't intend to be at work, but I wasn't going to miss my lesson and my blessing. So I will continue to rise through this platform. And without this platform, I'm going to rise because that's my purpose. I'm going to rise because I know there is bigger and greater in me, within me, before me. My ladder will not be the greatest of my life. I've got so much more to offer. And as I rise, I'm going to reach for those behind me. Have a great night. I am Sister Minister Yana Lee, and I am on the rise.
All right, Miss Minister Yana Lee, you are on the rise. I want to end my Emmy moment with 2 lines from the document I read earlier. Where I am, or where you are, is a most significant space and time. I've come to realize that one's success in life depends on one's state of mind. A mother told her son, keep climbing. I say to you, keep rising. Life ain't no crystal stair. Maya said it first. She proclaimed, still I rise. Maya, the mother, and myself, we know what it means to be on the rise. Life reveals that we are born, we live, and we die. But neither of the 3, birth, life, or death, are as significant as your here and now. Where am I? I am where I ought to be, searching for my destiny. I am on the rise. I want to encourage those of you who are listening now and those who might actually view this later. When it comes to your destiny and being all that you can be, you must first rise to the occasion. And once you rise to the occasion, you will find it's much easier to rise above life situations and circumstances. Those rise to the occasion and rise above it all. That's my Emmy moment. And I'd like to thank you all for joining us for Rise to Prosperity. Friday at 8 p.m. Also, we do another program, and that program is none other than the OTR movement.
There is no time to engage in the luxury of shooting off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism.
And I, for one, will join in with anyone, don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth.
Greetings, I am Jamie Eaton. Join me Fridays at 8 p.m. for On the Rise movement. So, on that note, I want to thank everyone for joining us. We have a conversation room, we call it on the Blue app, which is, I want to thank Brother Jerry Brown, my dear sister Apostle Harris, who did come in to join us, and my brother Frederick Gaines, as I know him. I'd like to thank those of you who are on here from the TikTok side. It's been a blessing. I want to say peace and blessings be unto you all. I'm going to remain in TikTok a few minutes. And as far as the Blue app goes, Facebook, peace and blessings, and do join us Friday. Thank you all. Peace and blessings. We're going to end the program here for you.